Well, we'll just accept that it's an overrated game and just move on, shall we? So yeah.
So about that, yeah. GTA 6 is Darren's thoughts.
Yeah, we're not bothered. Darren, stay quiet if you don't think it's going to be very good. Yeah, no, there we go. Let's move on.
So good. Hi everyone, so welcome back to another episode of Cosplay, Tugs and All Things Nerdy, and this time we're going to get a little bit nerdy than we normally do. Not as a serious episode, but anyway guys, I am Switch, and I am also joined by my co-host as always, Darren, iPhotoUK, and you may notice an extra person with us today. So we have Troy, Captain Tempest, joining us for a little bit nerdy sort of stuff. So, welcome, Troy.
Hey, buddy.
How's things, first of all, should we say? Before we get let's get into this little ready to get all your facts and stuff out there for everybody to know about with upcoming stuff that we're all looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm tired, but I'm good. Yeah, pretty good.
I think we're all at that point. I think now, aren't we? It feels like a long year already, and we're already in February.
I know. Yeah, it's been been a lot going on. There we go.
Yes, I think it's well needed. I think after by the time this is coming out, last few weeks probably needed. This is also coming out on the week of Magna, so if you're getting ready for Magna, why not put our podcast on whilst you're traveling up? And do bits and pieces.
It'd be a good one as well to sort of kick off the season. They may give some people ideas for cosplays or whatever. So I think it's just a good one to, it's a good one to go with.
You're in for 10 weeks now.
Yeah. And also I would recommend, obviously, if you're going to be listening to us on this one, definitely go and listen to Troy and Dex over at Pop Cultured as well. They generally release more episodes than us because they have no idea how they're doing it.
They've obviously got a lot more time on their hands.
Oh, obviously, yeah. Plus, I think, Troy's knowledge of everything, he just needs to get it out and express it all, which I find brilliant from my point of view because I sit and listen to it while I'm editing. So, yeah, I think let's get kick-starting with this. I think we're going to be talking about films, TV series, potentially some games, some stuff that we're interested in, and potentially also talk a little bit about Captain America Brave New World, as that has released weekend as we are recording it, and both myself and Troy have seen it. Darren, not so much, and he's going to be boring and wait till it goes out on streaming, so if we spoil anything, he doesn't care. But we will put spoiler warnings out for anything like that going forward anyway. So where should we start? Should we start with? I know, Troy. You and Dex did this on your podcast recently. I think we're not going to go. I don't think we're going to go through IMDb like you guys did, but there was also some really good ones in there. I think I'm going to kickstart a little bit with a film. I think it's like something that I know I'm personally excited for is Thunderbolts. And I think after seeing Cap, it's just even driven Thunderbolts for me. I'm more excited for it than I was before, and I was pretty excited beforehand. What about you guys?
Yeah, it's one that kind of like crept up on me a little bit. This has seen a few trailers, read a little bit about it, and I don't know. Maybe this is kind of like what we need from Marvel at the moment. Just something a bit more fun, not trying to take itself too seriously. Maybe. Yeah, I just think it does look like a good fun movie, to be fair. And it's got some good names in it as well. So, it is definitely one that I'm looking forward to myself. How about you, Troy?
I'm very excited. There is a character coming in this film that is one of my favourite comic book characters ever. Are we going into spoilers? Because this character hasn't actually been named yet. Like, properly.
I don't think it's a spoiler.
I don't think it's a spoiler. I think we've seen some stuff in the trailers. I think if anyone's listening to your podcast, I think they know exactly who we're talking. I think I already know exactly who you're on about anyway. But I think we can go off based off the trailers and what we've physically seen, because Marvel has released that to us, to the world. So yeah, go for it. And it's just a speculation at this point.
I am most looking forward to the character we only know at the minute as Bob. Bob is a very interesting character in the comics, and as Darren says, I think this is going to be a funner movie, but I feel as though with that character, towards the end, you are going to get a turn to the more serious side, because this character is one of the most powerful characters in Marvel Comics, the Sentry. He has the power of 1 million exploding suns, so he is actually a failed Captain America experiment in the comics, which you could say it went right, but it also went wrong. So the interesting thing about Bob is he has, I don't think the technical term is this, but I can't think what the actual term is. It's a split personality disorder. I can't remember the name of they have changed the name. I can't remember exactly what it is. So Bob, when all his negative thoughts and his anger and everything get heightened, he releases something and becomes something called the Void. And that is what you see in the trailer, which is the black smoke and everything that's dissipating or releasing over New York and turning people into shadow. So he is one of the most powerful heroes in comics, but is also someone who is only used when they have no other choice, because they run the risk of defeating the villain they need to defeat, but then having to defeat the guy that helped them defeat that villain.
Okay. That sounds cool.
I think, obviously, if people obviously, we know that, and this is my little bit of a speculation with it being the fact that we're called the Thunderbolts, and we have Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross in Brave New World. Now, do you reckon, and this is my speculation, there's no evidence out there to say that, will we have a cameo from Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk as part of the Thunderbolts? What if that's part of the asterisk? Because I know Kevin Feige in an interview said that we would find out what that asterisk is.
We know what the asterisk is.
Yeah. So
we know what the asterisk is now from the Japanese poster.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's been like they put it up on their poster. It says underneath asterisk ... and it tells you what it is. So if anyone wants to know, go and look at the Japanese poster and it tells you.
Literally just Googling it now.
All right. I'm going to have to get Troy to mention what it is, but I think if we...
Yeah.
Hang on, wait then, let me put a marker in so I could put spoiler warnings up in case people don't want to know.
So spoiler, skip about 10 seconds, because it is literally Avengers not available.
And I think that ties in very nicely with Brave New World, I think, a little bit, because we know that after Endgame, the Avengers are no longer there. The main cast are all out, well, either dead or retired or off doing something else. So it makes sense that the Avengers aren't really available for this global event, really, isn't it?
Yeah, so, I mean, you say you think the cameo will be Thunderbolt Ross. I told you what mine might be. My speculation is the cameo will be Scarlett Johansson. The reason being is part of the Void's thing is when you enter, you see your darkest fears and all your negative thoughts come out. Scarlett is also a executive producer on the Thunderbolts. I think either Red Guardian or Yelena, when they go into the Void, are going to see Natasha Romanoff. That's my speculation.
I love that theory.
Nice. I like it.
Love it. Yeah, I know for me, I am looking forward. This has been probably one of the projects that they've released that really is going to come out this year that I'm looking forward to. But I like Red Guardian, I like Yelena, and obviously Ed Bucky is one of my favorites. So you've got 3 amazing characters in there to do it. For me, I just think the chemistry, what we've seen so far from the trailers, just looks so daft and silly and entertaining. But I'm looking forward to it. We haven't got long left to wait for it now.
Yeah. It's May, I think, isn't it?
The 2nd of May, I think they announced it the other day. So I think tickets go available in in a few months or a month or so, I think. But yeah, they say 2nd of May and maybe early releasing end of April. Yeah. Okay, so Thunderbolts is definitely on the list. What about you, Darren? What film or series are you most hyped for so far?
I think for me, it's probably Ballerina. If anyone knows, I'm a massive John Wick fan anyway, and obviously the end of John Wick 4, it was like, well, are we going to get any more? Aren't we going to get any more? And obviously, we knew before that came to an end that we were getting a spin-off with Ana de Armas and Keanu Reeves. There's been some hype around this movie, but there's also been some negative stuff floating around. They had to reshoot a huge amount of footage for it, which was why they delayed it. But looking into it in a little more detail, I don't think it's quite as bad as we think. The rumours were that they'd reshot a lot of the footage for this because they'd made a lot of changes and they weren't happy with what they'd got, and essentially that it was going to absolutely tank, that it wasn't a good movie. But from the trailers that I've seen and from some additional reading that I've done, I actually do think this is going to be one that lives up to the John Wick hype. I wasn't a huge fan of the latest spin-off show. Continental, was it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even finish watching it. I watched a few episodes. One of the biggest issues for me is they seem to have done something weird with the colour grading on that show, and it kind of just ruined it. It just didn't look right, didn't feel right compared to the John Wick franchise. Whereas from what I've seen of this looks like it fits in nicely, but just follows on as a nice side story. I'm a massive fan of Ana de Armas anyway, and I think she'll really, really do well in this. We saw her obviously in a bit of action in James Bond No Time to Die, and I think she did really, really well in that. And obviously less action scenes, but she was also in Blade Runner 2049, and I think this is just a nice progression into the action genre for her. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. I think it'll be obviously not going to be the same level of success, I don't think, as the 4 John Wick movies, but I think we'll see it do well. It's one I'll definitely see at the cinema rather than wait until it comes out for streaming.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a cinema-worthy film, in my opinion. I mean, I love John Wick as a franchise anyway. It's just simple, but entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and I'm already planning some shoots around the Ballerina movie as well. So
should be good. That I thought originally it was meant to be a TV series. Originally, I thought
originally it was, yeah, and then whether it progressed into a movie or whether the rumors that it was a TV show were just incorrect at the start, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, that's my top of the list, I think, for 2025. There'll be lots of other things that are close behind it, I think, but that's my number one.
I think, Troy, we'll come over to you next, but I'm going to put a caveat into this one because there's 2 projects this year that are coming out. People who are watching probably can guess by the background of you. You're not allowed just yet to talk about Daredevil or Superman. But above them 2, what else are you looking forward to?
I mean, okay, we've done a superhero one, so let's just stay away from the superheroes for now. There is another superhero film I'm very much looking forward to this year, but there's something else that wasn't on my radar that suddenly has picked up a lot of traction for me, and that's Sinners.
Yes.
The new Michael B. Jordan film, and it's Ryan Coogler, I believe, who did Black Panther. Coogler. So I originally saw the first trailer in the cinema and was just like, nah, it's all right. I mean, I like Michael B. Jordan. I'm not huge on him like some are. I like him. I think he's a great actor, but I'm just not the biggest fan. I thought he was amazing as Killmonger. The last Creed I found a bit disappointing. I didn't really get into it much at all. Just didn't. That's for another conversation. I thought it was missing some elements. But the second trailer really intrigued me. And I don't know what the creatures are in this horror movie. I think they look like vampires.
I think they're meant to be like a form of vampire type. And you've also got Haley Steinfeld in it as well. She plays one of the baddies or vampires, I think.
But I feel as though watching it, they have from the second trailer. I don't think you got this as much in the first. I think they've heavily lent into the New Orleans theme and the musical side. And I really liked the vibe of the second trailer, and was that shot up on my radar of something I really want to check out now.
I think I was the same. I saw that. I think I saw the first trailer. I thought, really, do we need another sort of vampire-esque type zombie-esque film? And I thought, okay, here we go. I'm not too sure. And then I think I was like you. I saw the second trailer, and I thought, ooh, okay, this could be interesting.
To be fair, can we ever really have enough zombie or vampire films? I mean, it's a genre I'm massively into. So while I didn't know a lot about, and still don't know a lot about Sinners, it is one that I am definitely going to watch.
I think for you, Darren, I think you'll like it from a visual perspective. I think the cinematic style for that.
From what I've seen of it so far, that's what's going to be more me. I mean, and obviously, on the subject of zombie, we've got 28 years later coming out as well this year.
I've
got an interesting fact that you might like about this, Darren. The whole film was shot on iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Yeah, I know. I was literally just about to say the same thing. Although, to be fair, that's not that out there when you think of how they shot the first two and what they shot the first two on. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's not like some guy that's just standing there with his iPhone in his hand.
No,
the rigs that they've got specially made for these iPhones, but it will still be interesting to see how something shot on a phone with a sensor so small will pan out to the big screen. I think it'll add to the look. It'll add to the general feel of it. It's one that I'm definitely interested to see. Be nice to see the follow on and progression. See whether it lives up to the first two.
Maybe it's to sort of like keep in with the aesthetic of the first two as well, because although it's years and years later since we got the second one, like, I feel as though that's part of the first two, the way it was shot and the way it looks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you suddenly went on full 4K, HD, IMAX, whatever it is you film it on, you'd lose that aesthetic of...
Absolutely. When I first saw that they were filming it on iPhone 15s, I was like, what? And then I took a step back and I thought exactly the same as you. If they suddenly bumped it up to like 4K IMAX quality, it just wouldn't fit, because it's always had like a POV documentary kind of feel to the first two, and a little bit of a retro look about it as well. And I think if they were to move away from that, that would kind of destroy the whole way. It just wouldn't fit the franchise. It's simple as that.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to kind of point out, was the fact that it was like a documentary-esque style shooting in the original ones. So I feel like maybe doing it off the phone will make it look like it's just been taken from someone that's there, instead of it being like film where you're entertained. But I think it's gonna. I think the fact that it is done on a film, the fact that it's done on a phone, I think might actually drive people to come and see it and be like, okay, heard this was done with a film. What the hell what's it gonna look like? I think.
I mean, as a photographer and stroke kind of cinematographer, I'm really excited to see what they've done. Just by the way that they've shot it and what they've shot it on.
For a statement, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a bold move in today's market of technology. They could have just, some people might argue they could have just shot it on, really high-end cinema cameras and then done everything in post. But I think they're going for that sort of authentic feel. Yeah, definitely what I'm looking forward to.
Nice.
So what about you, Tom? What's another one that you might be looking forward to for this year?
Learn for the list. Okay. So for me, I'm going to stay away from superheroes for a second. But I've just done a whole re-binge watch of Avatar. And you've got the new Avatar coming out in December, which is, Ash and Fire?
Fire and Ash. Yeah.
Fire and Ash. After sitting back through watching the first one and the second one, I just remember how much I just enjoyed just watching and getting lost in a story. So the fact that we have got another one, about a year and a half, maybe 2 years at the most, out of it, I think it's something that I'm interested to see what they go through next. I think they actually released some images
for
the day.
They have said that there is going to be, obviously we're going to have the human element again, like the humans are trying to take over, but there's going to be the Fire Tribe are going to be like, I don't know if jaded's the word, they are no longer religious towards Awa, the god and deity of the planet. They are fully against that. They obviously, fire to the other clans is very dangerous, and they are a tribe that use it. So we're going to see them, and then another tribe, the Air Tribe. So they have said we're going to have quite a bit of aerial combat and ground level. So the combat is going to transition a lot between ground and air and stuff like that. But probably for the first time, you've got one of the tribes of the actual planet, the natives, being the villains.
It could be quite interesting, because especially if we've got the human element coming back to Pandora as well, that actually Jake and the Sullys maybe call upon them for help, which could be an interesting dynamic as well. But then if you're saying that they've got the air sort of tribes as well, you've got that coming in. I remember watching something on the behind the scenes, like a 2020 documentary with James Cameron and stuff like that around Avatar. And when they came back, he said something about when they came back to do Way of Water, he didn't just think of like, okay, we're not just thinking of a second film and thinking of a story for the second one. He needed to think like this overarching story progression throughout the next however many films. I think he's got 5 in total. So he's saying for like the next 4, when they started doing it, they had to think of this overarching, where's this story going to go, but how are they going to contain a story in each film to tell an individual story, but overarching it as a overall cinematic universe, essentially. So it's got me interested, and it's something for a long time I did go, Avatar is overhyped, it's over this. But then actually when you sit back and you watch it, you just chill. It's a nice viewing experience. It's actually really fun to watch, and you just get lost in a good story.
I will say I didn't enjoy the second one anywhere near as much as the first.
I'd say rewatch it, because
I enjoyed it, but like for me, the first one, I mean, obviously, I guess as well, like when the first one came out, it was very, very new. It was, we hadn't really seen much like that before. But the second one, I'd like be picking up my phone occasionally, looking on socials. I wasn't gripped by it in the same way. And that goes for the story as well. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with the third one and see if they manage to sort of bring that back into it, or manage to sort of grip the audience a little bit more.
I think we've got casting as well, slightly. I might be wrong. I can't remember. This is just literally on the top of my head. I think the leader of the Air Tribe is the actor who played Remus Lupin in Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember his name. Again, I'm terrible with actors' names, but I can know the characters and stuff.
David Thewlis, I think.
Yeah. So he, I believe, has been cast as the leader of the Air Tribe. My theory for this film is we're going to see the death of Jake. I think we're leading to that and leading to his kids taking over the story.
That should be interesting.
Or could be, or there's, or like a point where Jake goes missing or something like that, or he's taken, and it kind of leaves it at the point that you don't know what Jake's fate is for maybe a film or two, because he's being taken or whatnot.
I mean, the way they've been hinting at this fire tribe and what they believe in and everything, they're probably not going to be too much bothered about planet being terraformed. So I would think that they would probably join with the human side and just be like, yeah, do what you want. But these guys are annoying. So you're going to have air, water, and the jungle tribe versus the fire and the human tribe, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah.
Could be that turning point, I guess, that they need for it. Yeah. Okay, so that's that one. And let's mix it up. We'll go back to you, Troy. This time, should we go for a series?
Am I allowed to do it now?
Go on then. You can do it.
Born Again. Obviously, like March the 4th, I'm literally counting down. It is 17 days until this series finally drops. I mean, everyone pretty much knows how much of this character means to me. I've been reading the comics for years. This is my 8th year cosplaying this character. It's getting ridiculous. I have never been so upset for a series getting cancelled as much as when in 2019 they cancelled season 4. They had written season 4, like everything was done. They were about to go into pre-production and they were the last one to be pulled. Like everything, we got Iron Fist, Luke Cage, day by day, and everyone was like, they're gonna do it, aren't they? There's been a whole campaign to save this, #save Daredevil.
Yeah.
Which the fact that they shared me and liked my post the other day was absolutely mental. I lost my mind when they did it.
Can imagine.
Oh, but for this character to finally come back, and they are really going in heavy, in my opinion, on this. Like, they are pushing this as the gritty. They are not changing anything. They are not making him light-hearted for the MCU. They have really pushed that this is the darker underbelly of the MCU that we haven't really seen before. Like, we've had Deadpool and Wolverine, which touched on the gory aspect, but
yeah,
that was very comedic, and that this is the first time that it's going to be gory and gritty without the comedic side.
Do you reckon, because when it was on Netflix, I had a look at the ratings for this the other day, and it was on the ratings, Netflix had it as a 15.
Mm-hmm.
Disney has obviously confirmed that they are keeping it as an 18. They're making it 18. It's the first time that they're bringing out a TV series that is an 18. And on Netflix, Daredevil was, I mean, part of what I loved about Daredevil on Netflix was the fact that it was dark, gritty, and just, it had that element of take no shit sort of thing, and kind of really pushing it. Made it one of the best series on Netflix, especially when it came out. I loved it. To the extent that you do, because you're a massive super fan, but it got me personally enjoying a character that I hadn't really known much about and really enjoyed. So I suppose my question really here is it being taking it up a notch from a 15 to an 18, do we reckon that Daredevil is going to become grittier and more dark than the Netflix?
So the reason I think they have done this, and they have touched on that there is a scene in this series that takes it far beyond anything the Netflix series has done, is the villain. You have Muse. Now, for anyone who doesn't know Muse is an absolute psycho. He is only from 2015. He's not a very old character. He was done in the Charles Soule run, and Muse doesn't really have a goal. So Fisk is obviously trying to be the mayor, and they usually have something they want at the end. Muse just wants to be seen. He wants his artwork to be seen, and the way he does his artwork is he literally mutilates bodies. So in the comics, one of the first things we see is Matt goes into a building, and there is just brains hanging from the ceiling that Muse has just done a serial killer spree. It's ridiculous. This guy wears a artist's canvas as his suit, and then it's just covered in blood. He's also, I don't know if they're going this way in the comics, he is an Inhuman, so he's incredibly strong, incredibly fast, has no identity when they try and identify who he is. I think that is the reason they're going to go for this 18 rating, because how do you dull a character like that down?
Yeah,
It's very difficult. You'd have like, sort of like they did in the 2000s with Wolverine when he had knives as hands. You'd see a slash, but you'd never see anything. I don't think that would even work with this character like that if you just saw a foot hanging from the ceiling. You need to see what this guy is actually doing to get the point of like...
I think it'd be almost impossible. I think it'd be almost impossible to give the impact and general dynamic of the character without showing that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think I agree. That's probably a good shout on their part for them to make it in 18. Really,
I think there was a lot of speculation before they came out with obviously the main cast listing for. Or obviously we knew that Charlie Cox was coming back as Daredevil, but obviously the ultimate question for a long time was, are they gonna baby it up? Or are they going to keep it gritty? And that was I know for me, that was the biggest concern I had when they announced that Daredevil was coming back, is I didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
How some of the shows have been handled so far. And I feel like with Daredevil, it's one of them properties. It needs to keep that rawness and that grittiness that we saw in the Netflix series. I mean, we're currently rewatching it, and Steph has never seen it. So we're actually halfway through the Defenders at the moment, and then we'll jump into season 3 of Daredevil. Yeah. Ready for.
I actually never finished watching Daredevil. I must admit, I watched Defenders, I watched Luke Cage. I watched a lot of the others, but I'd never actually finished watching Daredevil. So I should probably.
I would recommend season 3
really.
Season 3 was a good series.
Yes, phenomenal.
Yeah,
I think fantastic.
I've got a bit of insight into this. So, like, usually when we hear the word reshoots, we panic. It's like, oh my god, don't do this. It's everything's gone wrong. So with Daredevil, I'd say it was the opposite. So what happened was they filmed 4 episodes already with a director, the writers, and everything, and sat Kevin Feige down and he watched them, and he hated them. Literally blatantly just goes, this is not the character. So sacked the director's team, sacked the writing team. It was a courtroom drama. He never wore the suit in these 4 episodes once. And that is when the creative overhaul came. So they'd actually recast Vanessa, who is Fisk's wife. They'd recast her totally. It wasn't the original actress coming back. And it was only when the overhaul came that we got Alden and Deborah back as Foggy and Karen. I think then closely followed by John Bernthal was back. So originally this wasn't a continuation of the Netflix. They were just saying that was a separate thing, maybe a multiverse thing or something. It was going to be its own restart thing. He was going to have been Daredevil for a while, but they weren't going to touch on it at all. And I think there'd have been uproar. There would have been for me, definitely.
I think based off of that, then they did the right choice by going, right, it needs to be a continuation of the Netflix Daredevil. We need to see that story continue, especially the fact that they brought him into Spider-Man. Yes, they brought him into She-Hulk, but yeah, whatever. But for me, he's the best part of She-Hulk. The fact that that he came in, you had a chance to see Daredevil. That for me was exciting from that point of view. Yeah, there's a little bit there, but the fact that he's slowly being brought into the MCU as well, like he's been hinted at for quite a while, has hyped it up a bit. I remember my very first MCM I ever went to. Me and Steph did more panels, and it was Charlie Cox and the girl that plays Karen,
Deborah Moore.
Thank you, Deborah Moore. They both came on stage, and this was just before the third Spider-Man film was released, and there was the speculation was he going to be in the film? And he sat on the sofa going, as far as I'm aware, no one from Marvel's contacted me about playing Daredevil again, but if they did, I would be up for it no matter what that role would be. My favorite character, his favorite character sort of playing and whatnot. Jump forward about a month later, you then get the uproar in the cinema because we saw Charlie Cox as Daredevil. Even though it was Matt Murdock, we didn't see Daredevil, but everyone was like, yeah, that was brilliant. I remember I was there opening weekend, and it the cinema just went nuts with him being in there. So the fact that at that point he would have known exactly what was coming, because they would have been working on Daredevil probably for a lot longer than anything. But
definitely.
I agree. It's going to be we're going to get the critics come back and turn around and go, oh yeah, this is the revitalizing stage of Marvel, blah blah blah, and you're going to have that. And then the next show will come out, and then it'll be like, oh, this is the worst thing. Yes.
Yeah, I've got this feeling that Disney Plus they're going to push this. I feel as though that this might be a bit of a turning point for the TV series. So at the minute we've got the TV series, and a lot of them are based on characters we've had in the movies, and they're side characters and stuff, and they're trying to push them forwards a little bit. I feel as though that the TV side is about to become its own universe sort of thing. I have, with being in the trailer with Fisk being the mayor, I kind of had an idea where this is going, which relies on you bringing a lot of those street level characters back, and also introducing new ones as well. But I think that would be a good way to go, is to stop putting the movie characters in the TV, let the TV stand alone on its own big budget. Because by the looks of things, from everything we've seen in this, and I mentioned this on our podcast, that one of the biggest things that gave me perspective that they are going bigger and pushing this and everything was that shot in Times Square in the trailer. The amount of people in that, and the fact that this is now New York, like, it's affecting the entirety of New York rather than just Hell's Kitchen, really shows me that they are pushing that this character is going to be a bigger player in the MCU game than just, oh, he just takes down a couple of drug dealers in New York in Hell's Kitchen and that. They are really going for this, and I really hope, like, if anyone wants to read a comic where they could potentially be going, it's called Devil's Reign. Highly recommend it. I believe that's where they're going. I've got so many theories for this series of from behind the scenes and trying to string things together, and who I think is going to die and all this and everything. I can't wait.
I think there was a point that you made on your podcast I really liked, that you said was around Foggy and Karen, that it was actually almost like almost like a memory of them, and they weren't going to be like a massive part of the series, because we know that Matt's hung up his suit. We know that he hasn't been Daredevil for a long time, because I think in the latest, I'm not sure about you, Troy, but I had a trailer in Brave New World that was for Daredevil, and there's a line from Fisk to Matt going something about him like, I know you haven't been the vigilante for a long time now. So it got me thinking of your episode that you talked about it, where I was like, that makes a lot of sense, that actually he hung up the suit, he hung up being Daredevil because of this big tragedy that happened to him in his life, and it makes sense that it'll be Karen and Foggy. Which is a shame, because they're brilliant. For me, I love them two characters. They're the three of their dynamic in Daredevil in general. But
yeah, I mean, you know what happens to Karen in the comics, right? Don't you?
Vaguely, but remind us anyway for the people that don't.
So, in season 3, spoilers for season 3 here. There's the scene where Bullseye's in the church and throws the billy club at Karen, and the priest gets in front of her and stops it. While in the comics, that actually hits Karen and kills her. And Karen's never come back. Like, Karen is one of the characters in the comics that has stayed dead. Like, she's never returned. Unless I'm missing something, I've never seen her again. I think, like,
I'll take your word as
I like
gospel,
how the
mate.
fact it was one of those things that really hit hard and stayed down. Like, it's a real thing. And again, theories, speculation. I think, Karen and Foggy are getting it just from seeing putting the bits together. I think he has a fight with Bullseye. I think Bullseye kills either one of them or two of them. My speculation more is Karen. Definitely Karen. And the thing that he says I pushed over the line, I went too far, is that he loses his mind and kills Bullseye. I
think that's a good point, because we always see the conflict in Foggy with Matt being Daredevil in the TV series. So if that is the case and Matt loses it and kills Bullseye, it could be to the point that, well, actually, that could be the thing that also then sets Foggy off enough to be able to go, I'm walking away from Matt. I want nothing to do with Matt because I can't reach him. I can't get to him anymore because I've been trying for so long to get him to stop or get him, like, whatever. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I love that point that you raised when you were talking about it on your podcast. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's one of them characters I could literally we could just do this whole podcast about.
I think we have talked about doing one closer to the time of which I really want to get the two of you on for that, and we have like a full-on Daredevil one after the first episode. And I know you guys are going to be doing a whole weekly review of each episode, but I'd definitely love to get the pair of you on after that first episode premiere and have a good conversation about Daredevil.
I think to like sort of wrap up my side, because as I say, it could go on forever. Charlie has said there's going to be what he calls as collisions, which is cameos. He likes to call them collisions because collisions are two properties. I think the one that we're going to see is Jessica Jones. I do think we're going to see Jessica Jones in there. Cool. Kristen Ritter has been putting stuff on Twitter all over the place that have been hinting to stuff like this. She put a picture of Jessica pretty much, put a random picture of a t-shirt up, and it turns out the t-shirt was the first thing we ever see Jessica Jones wear in the Netflix shows. I think Kristen Ritter is coming back as Jessica Jones. I think she's the other than him, the second best series. I think the first series of David Tennant was phenomenal. The other thing I'm really excited about, and it's going away from the series, but there was an interview or someone was talking to Charlie Cox's PT the other day, and he accidentally let drop that Charlie might be in talks for Avengers Doomsday. So that he's finally going to hit the big screen in the suit. Oh, by the way, just going back to the Spider-Man thing.
Yeah.
You know, he catches the brick first. I don't know if I don't think I mentioned this on ours, but the reason he catches the brick first is because his senses are more heightened than Spider-Man. Like, although you've got the spider sense, Matt will have heard it coming from a mile off. So the reason that not many people will get the fact that although he's sat there, he catches it first. And then if you really slow it down, Peter only reacts as it comes through the window. Matt reacts before it comes through the window. He's got faster senses than the spider sense. I just thought that's a little cool tidbit.
Yeah, it is.
I just throw in there.
That's the thing as well. It's like, and we know that they're going to be rebuilding the Avengers, so it makes sense that we have Daredevil on the team, because like if we go back to like the comics, when we go back to like Civil War, not the film one, but the comic version of it.
He's with Cap.
Yeah, he's with Cap, but he also plays a significant role within Civil War, if I remember correctly. And I was kind of gutted a little bit when Civil War came out, because I was like, how are you going to bring this massive spectacle of Civil War to it? But I kind of feel like this is going to tie into an upcoming Avengers, probably, which is going to be the Secret Wars, which should have been the Skrull, but we had that with the TV series, essentially. But I reckon Avengers Secret Wars is going to be, again, another sort of endgame level film.
So Secret...
around that.
I think the thing you're referring to, is you're slightly there. Sorry, nerds coming out. Secret Invasion is the Skrulls thing. That is the name of the comic. So, but what that was is they really didn't touch on that. So the Secret Invasion in the comics is, it turns out that Captain America and a few of the Avengers have been Skrulls for years. My phone is going mental for some reason. And Secret Wars is the clashing of different universes into one world. So I can't remember which character it is it's got a lot of Beyonder. Doctor Doom is a big part in this. To stop the collisions of the entire multiverse, they somehow create this one world called Battle World, which is different sections. Like there is a Hulk section, there is a Manhattan section, and all this. So that is where you get the part of all the different multiversal characters and multi-different versions. I mean, that's ultimately probably how they're going to explain that the X-Men come over into the main universe. The same with the Fantastic Four. I think you're going to end up at the end with like a prime Earth sort of thing. This is the main Earth where everything is centered all in one place.
I suppose that's going to tie everything realistically all together, so that everything's all together. And I suppose I think we should probably jump away from MCU for a little bit. Otherwise, Darren's eyes are going to glaze over even more than they already have.
Yeah.
And we'll end up being here for an hour talking about it. I think we could probably chat about that for quite a while.
Don't get me wrong. I love MCU, but it's just, it takes a lot to get me excited about MCU stuff these days. They've gone so far off track for me. But yeah, I agree. I think, the ones we talked about today, Thunderbolts and Daredevil Born Again, I think hopefully they may be the two that might get them back on track this year. I think the other one for me, TV shows?
Just go for a TV show.
Yeah. So I think for me,
going Disney.
There's a lot of season 2, season 3s, etc. coming out this year that I'm really looking forward to. So Fallout, Last of Us, Reacher, Andor is one that I am really looking forward to. For me, Andor is one of the best Star Wars TV shows they've made. It wasn't the all-out action thing that people often expect from Star Wars, but I just thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm really looking forward to season 2 and where they take it. The number one for me this year, I think, will be Alien Earth.
Disney Princess. I knew it.
Surprise to a lot of people. Yeah, Disney Princess.
It's official because Alien comes under the Disney franchise. And if you are royalty in any form, shape, or wise, you are classed as a Disney princess. And what is the queen? A Disney princess.
Yeah. Precisely. So, I mean, obviously after the success of Romulus, really enjoyed that film. It sort of got back to, I feel, a lot of the roots of the first two. I'm really looking forward to seeing where they take the TV show. A little bit nervous as well, but let's see what they do with it. I think, if I'm right in saying, Ridley Scott has had some involvement in this.
When is this set? I think it's set before.
I think it's set before. Yeah. I did look this up the other day, actually.
I think it's set like sort of like not necessarily at our time, a bit away from where we are now, but it's before the events of Sigourney Weaver's first Alien.
Right. So isn't the whole thing that they never made it to Earth?
It's set after Alien Covenant, essentially. So before, it's set 2 years before the first Alien movie.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how they do that, because I always thought that the point was that they never made it to Earth. So, like, I'm intrigued to see how they do that. Like, yeah, I don't know.
It might be a little bit strange, but
I think that's probably what they're going off of, though. The fact that they're trying off to go people to get people interested in it and go, hang on, I didn't think they were on Earth. So by saying they're on Earth, it might be that point where actually that brings in a lot of hype to figure out what the hell's actually happening.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. Definitely looking forward to seeing where they take it, seeing what the quality's like. If the quality is anything like Romulus, then it'll be a good one for me. TV shows other than that, I'm not sure. Other than what we spoke about, what else new is out this year? What are you looking forward to, Tom?
TV show wise, I think Daredevil we've touched on. Reacher season 4, like season 3 of Reacher. It's Reacher. Alan Richardson is a powerhouse as it is, and then we're in this one. We're going to see in him look like a 4-foot-nothing type dude against his adversary, sort of thing. I saw a new trailer out, I think, yesterday.
I think they've said they're gonna try and play on his vulnerabilities a little bit more in this one as well, aren't they? From what I gather, reading up on this, the latest series.
I like the fact that, I mean, for me, it's out this month. It's out in 4 days on Amazon. So it's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing and getting done before Daredevil comes out. But yeah, there's that. But I also think, I'm just having a look through my list. It's like, I think for me this year, I want to say the end of Stranger Things. Seeing how they tie that up, because season 4 was a really good season. Yeah. Every episode was essentially a feature-length film, each episode. So I reckon they're going to keep that sort of level of quality up there, and it will be interesting how they're going to finish this out. It really is. It's going to be.
I mean, for me, Stranger Things is always a nice trip down nostalgia lane. You know, it's the 80s vibe, which is very much my kind of aesthetic. So, yeah, again, I'm really looking forward to seeing where they take this. I don't know how many episodes it's going to be in season 5.
They have released a list. There is a list out with all the names as well. They've got the names.
Like 5 or 6 episodes, I think.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Again, I think they need to just stick the landing, because there's too many series where they don't stick a will right at the end. Linda Hamilton's in this season, which will be pretty interesting.
Really?
She's playing, I think, an army colonel or something like that. So they've got a big name in there as well now. Can't remember if we've released this one or not, but me and Dex both agreed that we, other than Stranger Things, we think Millie Bobby Brown is incredibly overrated.
Yep, you did mention that in the episode where you talked about it. I was good for you on that one.
I've never seen her in anything else I think she's good in.
I mean, she's not. I would agree with you. I don't think she's all that, but I also don't think she's the worst out there either. I think,
I don't think she's bad.
I think if she got the opportunity to do something different and portray something a little bit different, I think she might, and come out of the comfort zone a bit. I think she might do better.
Yeah,
but
I think I'm with you on that one. You know, I've seen her in a few things now, and I thought, yeah, it's all right, like Enola Holmes, stuff like that. Yeah, it's okay, but it's not spectacular.
She's not someone that, if you advertised the film like back in the day where it's like, oh, starring Millie Bobby Brown, I would be like, okay, that's not enough to really get me in to go see a film. So
exactly.
I don't get me wrong, I love her in Stranger Things. She's good in it. But again, my biggest concern is like you guys, it's sticking that ending. There's so many shows that just can't
I think if
stick and land at the end.
Yeah, if they've said season 5 is it, they need to properly finish it off. Like you say, really stick it and just be done with it.
I think they've said this spin-off's coming, which I don't think there should be. I think they should just end it. If it ends well, leave it. Don't touch it. Like, I know it's totally different thing, but Ted Lasso, like, it ended so well for me. I could have more, but they don't think we should because it ended so well. But they are potentially doing a season 4, and we don't need it. They don't.
100%. I agree. It's like as much as I love that show, and I would love to have more, I feel like they stick the landing on that one. That's a show that it ends well. Don't need any more. And it kills me to say it because I would love to have more. Like, deep down inside, I'm like, yes, give me more of it. I want more. But realistically, if you ended it well, why ruin that for it, sort of thing? So it's like, we've done it now. Let's move on. So I think Stranger Things seek like spin-offs as much as you're building. It's done successful. It doesn't mean the spin-off's going to do any better.
No, I think one, just going back to movies slightly, one that I'm really excited to see this year, but also extremely nervous, is Tron Ares.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like I love them or hate them. I'm a huge fan of the Tron movies. Tron Legacy for me was fantastic.
I love Legacy.
Say again, Troy?
I love Legacy.
Yeah, I do.
Legacy.
I grew up on the first one and loved the second one.
They've got the ability here to either fucking completely ruin it or take it to the next level. My main issue is one of the leading stars.
Yeah, mine too.
And I was also shocked, given the general nature of the movie, to hear that Nine Inch Nails were doing the soundtrack. Like Legacy with Daft Punk as a soundtrack, it just worked together. The two things just gelled. I know the guys from Nine Inch Nails have done a lot of movie score production, and it's not necessarily in the same ilk as their usual music, but I'm just a little bit nervous about the music score. Very, very nervous about Leto.
Yeah.
That's
my biggest
and the fact is we've still not really seen much about it in terms of visuals, other than the initial leaks.
Yeah. The leaks are worrying me, though. The Jared Leto thing's a really big thing for me, because I just don't really see him in much where I've thought he's good. But the leaks are also worrying me, because a lot of it looks like it's set in our world. It looks like they're going the opposite of people going into the system. It looks like things are coming out of the system, which I've just had the exact same thing with Masters of the Universe. It's like you've got a thing there that really works going into that world. It's the aesthetics are awesome. It's something we don't really see.
Yeah.
Masters of the Universe, they are literally the first things we've seen of Adam is on Earth being arrested by police. I'm like, you've got Eternia there. Why are you not just setting it there?
I mean, I'm a little bit intrigued. I'm a little bit intrigued about the narrative, because they kind of touched on that in Legacy. That was the main aim of why he was trying to get out. So I'm although they kind of like cut that narrative off at the end of Legacy, so why it would then, so I'm a little bit intrigued to see what they could do with it set in our world, but at the same time, it's got to be done in the right way for it to work. And I worry that maybe it's not.
Yeah. Are the Legacy characters back, do we know?
I don't think they've really announced. I don't think they've announced anything.
They've not announced.
Bridges
much.
is in it. I think Jeff Bridges is back, isn't he?
Well, that's
he
Paul.
Is, yes. Yeah.
I don't know.
So looking at
cautious
the
about
cast
that one.
list, I'm not seeing.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges, Cameron Monaghan.
The guy who does
Gillian Anderson's in it.
Jedi Fallen Order. It's the guy from the main thing of that.
Yeah.
Leto. Yeah, there's not many others in it that I would recognise.
It's literally,
It's
literally
the fact that
the
they're
Leto
still
element.
keeping so much of it under wraps, and it's out this year.
It's literally the Leto element for me that's just like, don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I don't think I've really watched anything with Jared Leto in that. I highly rate his performance.
I don't mind Leto in things if he's, like Blade Runner 2049, he was a main character, but he wasn't.
He wasn't in there long.
You didn't really see that much of him.
The main player, I'd say.
Yeah, I thought he was the weak link in Blade Runner 2049 personally, but it was okay. It didn't ruin the film. Having him as a main character in a movie would literally make or break it, and I worry that it will break it on this one.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I've just rewatched Blade Runner the other day, and for me, he's in it in a very small amount. So for me, he doesn't ruin film. Like, if he's got an appearance in it, fair. I don't mind him having an appearance. He can, as long as he's not the lead and the main. Then for me, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But if he wants to be a protagonist that you barely see and has very little lines, even better. But for me, he's that underlying thing for me that makes me a bit nervous about third Tron film, and I would love to see more Tron. It's a brilliant world. It's like Ready Player One for me. I love that film, and I really want to see them do a second film.
Well, they are.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not sure where they're going to go with it.
I haven't been really announced of what year that'll come out. I know it's in a work in progress.
No, they are working on it. They have said they're definitely going to do it, but it would just be interesting to see where they take it. I mean, I've seen that film far too many times than I care to admit. But yeah, I love it.
So
and
moving on,
they set so much of it in Birmingham as well, which was great.
Here's one for you. A film that's coming out, and I know it has some controversy. I'm just going to wonder if Troy can figure out which film I'm on about yet.
I'm going to guess her straight away.
Which one?
Snow White.
No, I'm not even going to talk about that.
Oh,
because I have no care or no
when
interest.
You said controversy,
in that.
But just when you said controversy, I was like, that is a big one.
As to me, like if we're talking about Snow White, I have zero interest in that film. For me, I don't see why
I
don't even know why they're making a remake of it, a live action version of it. It doesn't need to be touched. The first original one back in the day was fine. We do not need a live action. I'm not going to get into the live action.
Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
So,
next bit, and I'll try and guess again.
You've talked about it.
Okay.
On your podcast. It is, don't want to say who's in it because it'll give it completely away. But it is, how many have they done? So this will be the 7th film in the installment.
Mission Impossible.
No. We will talk about Mission Impossible.
7th installment?
7th installment. I think it's 7. If I've got my math right. Yeah.
Go on.
It's essentially a remake of a remake, I guess, or as a continuation of franchise that has been going on since 97.
Jurassic Park.
There we go. I was wondering, I just wanted to keep going to this till you guessed it now. I
Jurassic
didn't plan
World
it.
Rebirth. Jurassic World Rebirth.
So when you guys brought out your chat about this, had the trailer or the extended trailer dropped at that point?
No, we've not seen a thing. No.
So obviously the newer trailer dropped, I think last week, I think it was. So I know that you guys were skeptical in regards to it because Jurassic World was, the last 2 Jurassic Worlds weren't brilliant films. Obviously Jurassic World with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that first one was good.
Yeah.
And then obviously flopped the last 2. And now obviously we've got Scarlett Johansson in this one as a lead role and the guy from Bridgerton and Wicked. What's your thoughts on that? I'm guessing you've seen the trailer for it now.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it now that you've seen a longer extent trailer on it? Are you still kind of in the area of it being a little bit or was it filling you with a little bit more?
A little bit more. I'm 50-50. So the way I can compare the Jurassic series. Now, I'm not saying the first one of these is the same as this franchise. I think the first one of Jurassic Park is phenomenal compared to it, but I feel as though this is going the same way as Fast and Furious. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I can see what you mean. As long as they're not taking dinosaurs to space, we'll be fine.
Yeah, when Vin Diesel pops up in Jurassic Park, we're in for something. But I feel as though the first one of Fast and Furious, it was like lower budget. It was like street racing and drugs, and they're stealing TVs, and then suddenly they were taking out a nuclear bomb. I feel as though Jurassic Park, the first one, is such a contained thing that it's even now, it still holds up. It's still a phenomenal film. You can go back and watch it and still enjoy it, and it's fantastic. It still looks great. And progressively they got more. Yeah, and progressively they got more and more like that. Like, the bit that made me think that straight away in this was the stunt where Jonathan Bailey has obviously just been pulled off of the cliff and Scarlett's holding him. Like, I'm just like, I don't want that. If you're going to do something new with the Jurassic series, make it a horror.
Yes.
Like, go to the island and make it more of a horror movie. They're being stalked. Like, you can have a couple of the action scenes. It doesn't have to be a constant horror. But, like, there always seems to have to now be a bigger and badder dinosaur. Every single time.
Yeah.
And as I say, like, seeing it, the fact
something else has been made in a lab and blah, blah, blah.
Yes, the fact they're going back to an island, because I feel as though they wrote themselves into a corner that everything was everywhere. I didn't like that, personally. I think it's a better way to do it. But I'm still skeptical. I'll go and see it. I will definitely go and see it. I thought the last one was terrible, though.
Agreed.
But I think it's one of those again that they stuck a landing and they should never touch it again.
I think, like, you are right, like, that horror aspect to it. And I've got a couple of points for this. Jurassic Park 1, bit that I remember as a kid, because I watched, sorry, Darren.
I know what you're going to say.
I watched this as a kid, did this one, right? And I remember the kitchen scene where they're hiding from the raptors. And to me, as a kid, that was scary. All right, they're being chased by these raptors, and that was terrifying.
Tapping of the toe.
Exactly. So I think I agree with you. If it went down the avenue of it being a bit more isolated, a bit more horror-esque vibe, and I'm not a horror person, but I feel like with this,
it doesn't have to be full on.
No, it doesn't have to be full. But I feel like it needs to have that spooky edge of the seat moment to it, not an action like your Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel punching gorillas in the face or something like that. But it needs to have that element of shock and awe and being scared. And I think that's kind of what the first 3 original Jurassic Parks kind of stuck to a bit, because even it's my controversial, I actually really enjoyed the second Jurassic Park film.
Yeah, I have nostalgia for 3.
I have nostalgia for 3 as well.
The horror element in that one is the mobile phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the whole
and
way
like,
through
when you
is
heard
that mobile
that,
phone.
everyone was like, oh my God, it's here. Like, you just knew it was coming. But yeah, as soon as we see Dominic Toretto riding a T-Rex, the franchise is done. Like, no.
But staying on the Jurassic Park thing, there's something I saw that was posted on social media, and it's a new game set within Jurassic Park, and it's called Jurassic Park, I think Jurassic World, Jurassic Park Survival. And you saying about the horror element is what got me remembering about this game. Now, the game, I think, is based on the original island, and you have to survive the island, essentially. You are a player. I think it's a co-op game. You can play it with your friends.
Yeah, I think it's one of the scientists that didn't escape the island. I think that's the thing, that they got left behind when everyone left in the first film. The one person or so got left behind and forgotten.
And so essentially the whole premise of the game is you have to basically escape the island with nothing. You have to utilize everything around you. So it's a survivor horror-esque game. And it looks interesting. Sure. Not sure when it comes out, but I know it's started to be advertised a little bit around socials for that. But if they'd done something like that for this particular film, I think it would have probably been really good.
Yeah,
but
you could easily do a Jurassic film with just 2 actors. Genuinely, you could quite easily. Like this, the game, you could literally just have 2 people stuck on the island and following them trying to escape, and something is stalking them. That is where your dread and your horror comes. And it could be one of these mutated things if you want, and it's like, okay, because we have seen raptors and all this now, it's like, oh yeah, it's another raptor stalking them. You could have this and not show them, a bit like Alien. We're going back to Alien stalking them. When we first ever saw Alien, we didn't know what was after them.
Predator,
you
really?
could do that. Yeah, you could do that. And it would probably work, and that's where you could introduce these new creatures that they've been experimenting and doing too much with. Yeah, the Hollywoodifying it.
Making it basically, what could we sell as merch? Essentially, it's what it is. But I think we'll move away from Jurassic Park, and I think we'll go with another one that is ending a franchise relatively soon. And obviously, that's Mission Impossible, the
Final Reckoning.
I was going to say Dead Reckoning, but that was the last one. So
that was the last one.
Yeah, it's a Final Reckoning now.
I mean, this is another one for me that I enjoy watching the Mission Impossible films, but this is another one for me that the whole thing just feels a bit Fast and Furious. The way it's gone, it's been like never ending. But that being said, I did enjoy Dead Reckoning. And I am looking forward to seeing this one, to see what they do with it, and finally closing it out. Again, I think it's another one where they need to stick the landing and just finish it off properly, go out on a high.
Yeah.
Well,
can we just appreciate the fact that Tom Cruise is 62?
Yeah, I know.
I was going to mention about something about this. So, jumping slightly back to
Bill
that.
does most of his own stunts.
Yes.
It's just insane.
Mental.
So, there's something that Tom Cruise did in this film. So, everyone knows for a very long time, Tom Cruise had the world record, I think, in Hollywood for the longest breath. So, when Avatar 2 came out, what's the name? Kate Winslet. No.
Kate Winslet
broke his record. I think it was like 6 minutes and 20 seconds of holding her breath underwater. And this is just taking it into actors' perspective.
Get it all while you carry on.
Tom Cruise, out of like, whoa, hang on, I'm not being beaten. I think they added an element to this film that allowed him to basically hold his breath for as long as he possibly could to take his record back. I don't know how. I don't know how much truth there is to that.
So Kate Winslet held her breath for 7 minutes 15 seconds.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's mad, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, that's massive.
yeah.
So he had to do one better, apparently. So in Final Reckoning, he takes his record back, apparently, for the longest breath within a movie, I think it is. Because I think some of the divers out there actually do hold their breath for longer. But yeah, that's nuts.
I like these films. I love these films. I think it's the stunts, isn't it? That's the reason you go to see what has Tom Cruise done now that's more mental than before. Like, there's a scene of him holding onto a biplane.
Yeah.
Why?
I think that, like you're saying, that I think that adds to the element of a Mission Impossible film. It's like, if it was anybody else, we'd be like, oh, great, it's another Fast and Furious, or it's another this, it's another that. But the fact that we know Tom Cruise is in his 60s and he's still doing these crazy stunts, and I think that potentially is what drives people into these things.
And the whole idea behind Mission Impossible is it's supposed to be unbelievable stuff. Exactly. So, as long as they're not going into space in, a Ford Focus or something like that, then with Vin Diesel hanging out the boot, then I think it'll be all right. I'm looking forward to it.
I think this episode should have been called "Let's Rip the Shit Out of Fast and Furious."
I'm gonna say now though, I do like Fast and Furious because I could just go and watch it for. I know what I'm getting. I am getting absolute stupid dumb fun.
But here you go though. This is the thing. You can sit there and I guarantee it. We'll all sit and watch that last Fast and Furious that comes out, I think next year or something. We know it's going to be ridiculous. We know it's going to be dumb.
We'll enjoy it.
But we'll fucking enjoy it. It will be like, oh, that shit was mint. Because it's so unrealistic.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing about it, and what we need to remember is, when critiquing a film, is like, the way that I look at a film, if I enjoyed it, did I sit through it and felt like I was entertained for the whole... Was there any point in time where I was like, oh God, this is now dragging on? If I'm sat happy for however long the film is, and it's kept me entertained, to me, it's a good film. That's the way I work it. There's different levels then afterwards, but we all know secretly we all trash Fast and Furious, but we all know we're going to go see it.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's
just while we're on the whole Fast and Furious style, I watched a film at the weekend. So Amazon Prime, My Fault London, and it's a sort of British remake of an American film. And it's got my boy, Project Cosplay UK in it, just as a little side part as well. So just thought I'd give him a mention. And I didn't really know about this film until he sort of posted that he was in it. I actually really enjoyed it. It kind of felt a little bit like the first couple of Fast and Furious movies, but made in Britain. And it kind of like took me back to those days a little bit. And it was quite entertaining. And I think there's still a market for stuff like that people want, as long as you know what you're getting.
They don't shy away from it, do they?
No, they don't. They know that making the film is like entertaining, and people are just going to sit and watch it for the enjoyment instead of it being the realism for it, realistically. But yeah, I think something else.
Oh yeah, what else we got?
Do we want to have a quick chat about any TV series or?
Go on. If you're going TV, I'll go on.
Yeah, go for it.
1,000 Blows.
Not heard of that one.
The box, I think it's called 1,000 Blows. It's by the guy who did Peaky Blinders. It's got... it's
coming out, isn't it, in about a week or so?
It is 1,000 Blows. It's got Stephen Graham, the Scouse actor, fantastic actor. It's by the guys who did Peaky Blinders. It's about the boxing rings in Victorian bare knuckle fighting. I think there's a lot more to it about drugs and stuff like that, and
it's like robberies in high society and stuff like that. And then
it's actually out next Friday, according to this.
Yeah, Friday.
And Stephen Graham. Stephen Graham is like, when you watched him originally, he wasn't the biggest guy, and he's not shredded in this, but
He's
the guy has got jacked. Like, he is big.
I
Like,
like Stephen Graham, though. I do like Stephen Graham. He's
has
good at what he
put
does.
some work in to get this. He just looks like a brawler. He looks like Bane was in The Dark Knight Rises.
I'd agree with that.
That's
Wow,
the same
nice.
physique-wise. Like, I don't know if you... Like, we're on video, aren't you? Darren, have you seen him? That's what he looks like.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
It's very like Tom Hardy in Warrior as well,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
not
maybe
defined.
not as shredded as Tom Hardy in Warrior, because he was ridiculously shredded, but the mixture between Bane and
he's
his
not
character in
defined.
Warrior.
He's just big and intimidating, and it looks fantastic.
It does. It looks. It's definitely set. It kind of almost reminds me of Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. a little bit. That vibe, that sort of cinematic vibe to it. So not the same concept, but the visual element to it. It looks quite interesting, and it's very much taken. From what I could gather from the trailer, you have some people from like Africa, I believe, come over, like emigrate over to the UK, and basically get caught up in this fighting and
like
bringing into criminal organizations and stuff like that within London and in the like old days. But yeah, it looks interesting for sure. It's definitely going to be one to look out for, I think. I forgot.
I think other than that, I'm not really up on what other TV shows are coming out this year. New stuff, anyway.
New stuff I don't really know. I mean, we have got
Wednesday season 2. That's coming.
Yes,
which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah,
quite enjoyed the first Wednesday, which I didn't expect to. I didn't enjoy it.
No, same. I've never been a massive sort of Addams Family fan or anything like that, but I really enjoyed the TV show. Obviously, as I've already mentioned, Fallout Season 2, I am really looking forward to.
They've just started that, I think, as well.
I enjoyed Season 1 on an immense level. Just so good. And they've said that Season 2 potentially blows Season 1 out of the water. But we'll see.
The same.
Last of Us Season 2, I am also really, really looking forward to.
I'm nervous.
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Because they said it's going to be 4 seasons altogether, and they're going to split this one into 3 seasons, potentially.
Wow. I'm also nervous about some of the casting for this as well. And
yeah,
I think I saw some people may have seen Nika speaking about this as well. And I'm definitely with that, but we'll see how they fit it in and how it pans out. But I'm still looking forward to it.
Yeah,
here's a controversial series that's also going to be ending this year. It's a Netflix series, The Witcher.
Final season.
Season 4 has been announced to be the last season, because obviously we're going over to what's his name? Hemsworth. No,
Liam
Hemsworth, obviously taking on the role from Henry Cavill. And this is nothing against Liam Hemsworth. From the photos I've seen him, he looks fantastic as the Witcher from what I've seen. I do feel
I just can't get on board with a show that changes the actor for the main character 4 seasons in. I'll whether you're a Cavill fan or not, and I like him in some stuff, don't in other stuff. For me, in this TV show, he is Witcher. He just, I think I'll struggle to connect with the show watching someone else in the main role. If they were going to do it, they'd have been better off doing it in a way where they maybe killed the main character off in season 3 and brought in another character as another Witcher.
Well, playing off of that one, because we have the Witcher 4 game coming out in the next couple of years, they could have gone, if they were going to go, right, Henry didn't want to do the role anymore because of what was going, people know what's happening there. You could have gone with the whole line of Ciri taking over as the main protagonist.
That's going to be the main focus in the new game. And I think they would have been far better going down that route, sort of ending season 3 properly with it leading into it and then taking over from where the new game's going to come in. I think that would have been a much better way of doing it.
I didn't like how they tied up season 3. Season 3 was the way that they released it as well. It's like actually we had like the first set of episodes that were released, and there's like 1 or 2 episodes that released a week or so later. And the first part of it was better than the second. The second part just felt really rushed. It felt really narratively not strong. And for an ending of a series, it was shocking.
I don't think any of it's been narratively strong, if I'm honest. I've not really vibed with any of it. I've liked, my favourite episodes have been the one-offs. Beauty and the Beast episode was my favourite one, where they went to that thing and the guy turned into the Beast, and that was the best episode, but it was a one-off. We know it was just a side story thing. I've never vibed with the story, and that's not Henry. I'm the same as Darren. Sometimes I love him, sometimes I don't think he's great and stuff. I don't know if it's controversial or not. I think the actress who plays Yennefer's terrible. Don't think she suits the role whatsoever. I just don't agree with Yennefer.
I could see your point. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mind her as Yennefer, but I can see your point. I think that's probably what's been bugging me about her, is probably like, I don't feel like she is Yennefer to me.
No, I feel as though, alongside Henry, I first of all think she looks too young. I think, and then she's meant to have lived for years, which I know she doesn't age, but she doesn't come across as someone who's had all that time and all that knowledge from all those years. Like the one in the game comes across as that. I know it's a video game and you can design a character, but she comes across as a mature person who's been through things and stuff, but doesn't
in
exactly
the show. She comes across as very naive and wet behind the ears and very inexperienced.
I just do not see her as Yennefer whatsoever. I don't like her as it.
I feel that.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think the casting of Ciri in the show is very, very good. And that's another reason why I think they might have been better off, like Tom said, in going down the direction with season 4 with her taking the main role, because I think she's strong enough to do so.
Well, we also had an episode, one of the last episodes we saw of Ciri in season 3. She's basically decimating a load of people in a bar, and that's without having the Witcher serum. She's trained with Geralt, she's done all this, and she's essentially kicking ass. I reckon a third, the last season, should be realistically about her, because Henry's character did get put into a situation that he was near death. Now they could have ended it where he actually dies, and then Ciri goes on a rampage of revenge against Geralt's death. We won't know until we see the ending, but I think because there is a lot of drama around this series, I don't think it's going to finish on a strong note. I think it's going to be one that I'm going to be worried about. And then I think when it's done, I'm going to be very much like, right, it's done. Great. We can now all move on to something different now.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously there's a big one I want to talk about when we get to it. But The Witcher being a game, there's something I want to mention game-wise that's coming this year. And I might be very controversial on this one, because I'm not exactly going to say I'm looking forward to it, but I think it's something we need to mention, because I think it's incredibly overrated for what it actually is. Grand Theft Auto 6.
Knew you were going to say that. I just was guessing that was it.
I don't get the massive hype over them. I've played 5, played 4, and I enjoyed them, but once I've done the story and everything, I don't get the enjoyment. I don't get it. I know it's going to be huge this year, obviously, in gaming, but I just don't get it. I've tried, but I just don't get it.
Yeah. So this is where I'm in complete agreement with you, Troy. For me, I played GTA 5, I played all the others from the story, but as soon as the story was done, I was like, okay, yeah, it's done. I don't get the hype around it personally. It's not my side of the game, but I know, Darren, you are excited for this one. Oh, I lost signal?
Can't hear Darren either.
Oh, cool. For me. Have you pressed the button?
Well, we'll just accept that it's an overrated game and just move on, shall we? So yeah.
So about that, yeah. GTA 6 Darren's thoughts.
Yeah, we're not bothered. Darren, stay quiet if you don't think it's going to be very good. Yeah, no, there we go. Let's move on.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Now it became the Tom and Troy show where we can just geek out about everything.
Having fun shite, innit?
What's that?
Cyberpunk shite, innit?
And mark that for a blooper.
Oh dear. Had to be done. Had to be done.
It has to be done. You can't talk. But I think the whole GTA 16 is brilliant. Yeah. Disagree. Stay quiet. Probably gonna get some hate on that, but hey, I don't care.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't find the enjoyment in them.
I
Like,
probably
really,
wouldn't even. I don't even think I'll even bother with this one.
don't think I will be. I don't think, unless it comes down in price and I'm just like, yeah, I'll have a go.
It's on
That's what I did with
offer,
5.
yeah.
I didn't buy 5 on day one. Like, I bought it a few months later when I'd got a bit of a discount thing for game. I think it was like I got a 50%. I won a 50% voucher or something, and I just was like, well, I'll try it.
Thing is, though, it's been out on 3 platforms. So if we look at it from a PlayStation point,
I know.
it was out on PlayStation 3 originally, then went to 4, and now it's on 5. Now it's
What I was going to lead into a game that I am actually looking forward to. So I'll say in a minute.
I have a guess. I think I know what that will be, but I will leave that until.
Go on, have a guess.
Borderlands.
No.
Nope.
Not bothered.
I'm not bothered. I'm not a Borderlands person personally. I can see the
Nope.
hype. I don't like the art style personally. I like seeing the art style in cosplay, but I don't like the game art style. Don't know why.
No, I played a bit of 1. I actually played 2 on PlayStation Vita because it was the best thing on there. I've got 3. I got it as a free copy at a Comic-Con.
I got a free copy when it came out on PlayStation as a free game. I was like, oh, it's free. I'll buy it and have it.
They were handing free copies out at a Comic-Con, like actual physical ones, and I've got it, and it's still in the cellophane. Never played it.
Oh wow!
So that's how much interest I've got in it.
Here's
and the film was meant to be awful. Yes.
Because that's on my list. I'm like, yes, E-Day, give me that shit. I can't wait.
E-Day. I've actually got Gears armor upstairs in the loft that I've never finished to do JD Phoenix. And I've just never finished it.
Well, they may be bringing it out on all of them out on PlayStation.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, I mean, I'm speculating. I think the Series X, the one I've got at the minute, is the last Xbox.
It is.
I don't think they're doing it anymore. I think they're just going into a platform. They're going to produce games. That's it.
Well, they've got I think they're going to carry on with the Xbox Pass so that because already now, if you have a certain Fire Stick, you can, and you've got Xbox subscription, you can stream your game through Amazon, through the Fire Stick.
Yeah.
As long as you've got a Bluetooth controller.
I mean, the reason I like Xbox better than PlayStation, I like the interface better, and I like the controller better. That's pretty much the only reason I've picked Xbox. I will switch if I have to.
I loved Xbox when it first came out. Really did. I thought it was a better console. And then I bought a 360 and PS3. Just because I liked at the time you were getting the exclusives, I wanted to pay on both platforms. So I was like, well, I'll get both of them. Why not? And then it kind of just got to the point I just stuck with PlayStation. So there was more coming out for PlayStation than there was for Xbox. And I just kind of stayed with PlayStation ever since.
So what had happened for some reason, broadcast... No, press nothing. Broadcast had bombed out my mic. The broadcast wasn't picking up my mic at all. I had to go broadcast, reset it, select a different input, and then go back to the same input. Welcome to the world of NVIDIA.
Oh, the world of technology.
Yeah.
So
GTA 6, Darren.
GTA 6. Now we've had that conversation, and Darren has given us his views on GTA 6.
Fuck
he
off,
kept
get
silent.
back onto GTA 6. Well, actually, no. To be fair, I was gonna. I just need to get some windows open again. I mean, GTA 6. I've got a little bit to say about GTA 6, but I was actually going to steer it back around to sort of TV and movies because obviously we're talking about Cavill no longer being in The Witcher, and I was going to move it over to another one of Troy's favourites, which is going to be Cavill no longer being Superman. So yeah,
I wouldn't say it's the fact that he's no longer Superman that's not the reason. That's not necessarily start that, because I think the first thing to say on this is DC has been one of the most disjointed fandoms and everything
I agree.
I've ever been part of.
Yeah.
Like, everyone goes on about Star Wars. DC at the moment is horrendous.
Yeah. I think DC has always been a little bit up and down.
Yeah.
Like for as long as I can remember, but I've never seen it like this disjointed. I mean, we talk about Marvel losing their way and all the rest of it, but DC at the minute are just...
Yeah. I've never known as well... I don't know how to describe it. Like this, there is people on my Facebook seems to show this a lot. I've never seen so many people. Well, I don't know if it's so many people, like just very vocal, passionate about one person playing one character, which is Cavill. Like there's so many people that are just adamant that no, he's the only Superman that ever can be, and all this. Same with Zack Snyder. I don't get. There's so much support sometimes for him, and I don't always get it. And I keep saying every time, like, I am a Superman fan over any actor. Like, that is me. I'm the comic book fan of the character. James Gunn's Superman flops and they restart again with a new actor again. I will be there to support it and everything because I am a fan of the character first. I hate the talk online oh, Henry is the only person who can ever play this character, and it does put me off it a bit.
I think that's a good way of actually looking at it from a point of view.
I think it's a very short-sighted way of viewing it by a lot of people, because he wasn't. It's not like he was the first Superman. It's not like Superman was born with that character. Christopher Reeves was and will forever be the Superman. If we're going to talk about a guy that is the character to play Superman, not only was he the first, but he was, in my opinion, one of the most perfect representations and the most believable people to play that character.
It's almost immortalized as that character, realistically.
Yeah, totally.
I grew up on Christopher Reeves as my Superman.
Yeah.
But I agree with what Troy's saying. Is that actually it's a really good way of looking at it, is the fact that you're a fan of the character, so no matter who really plays that role, you love that character and you want to support that character. I think that's a fantastic way of looking at it, instead of going, pointing names at actors and stuff like that for it. It's like,
and especially when it comes to movies as well. When it comes to movies, it's not like TV shows like we were talking about with The Witcher, where they've just changed it partway through, so therefore it becomes hard to follow. When it comes to movies like this, every movie is although it's still around Superman as a character and a comic book, each movie is almost its own. And so I think changing the main star doesn't really, it doesn't worry me. I mean, to be fair, I full disclaimer, I've never seen the Cavill Superman movie or movies. I've not watched them.
So before we go on to the new one, I do want to touch on the Man of Steel element of this all, because it is obviously, although it's gone, it's a big thing that everyone's talking about with this thing. So for me as a Superman fan, there are elements of Man of Steel that I do like. There are elements I think are utter trash. The trash part, definitely, I've mentioned it in episodes of ours. The Jonathan Kent death is pathetic. It is so stupid. It takes away from the whole point of the character that he cannot save everyone. Yeah. Because Jonathan Kent dies from a heart attack. Superman can't save someone from a heart attack like that. He died from a tornado in Man of Steel, which he could easily have saved him and easily talked his way around how this guy survived.
Yeah.
I think Cavill got the element of looking like a superhero fantastically. I think he looks the part. I think he looks like Superman, like that part. Don't think he's a good Clark Kent. I don't think he's a good Clark Kent. So the whole point of Clark Kent is it's to draw you away from the fact he is Superman. Yeah. And they're two different people. And Cavill's aren't. They are literally the same person. It's so easy to pick out that he is Clark Kent and he is also Superman. There's a scene in Christopher Reeve's one, which in my opinion is the best interpretation of how Christopher Reeve swapped between the two. And he is about to tell Lois that he is Superman, and he is leant over like this as Clark, takes the glasses off, and like his chest comes up and he's literally standing, he changes his posture and everything, and it's a different person. And then he switches back because he changes his mind. That's Superman and that is Clark Kent. There's two different people. And I don't think they nailed that. Now, as I say, there's elements of that I do like and elements that I don't. But the minute the fandom it's broken, and there's some of the Snyder fans on the internet are so loud about this, like saying, oh, it's terrible and everything, and all this James Gunn is going to flop. At the minute, the numbers are not showing that.
I disagree. I don't think James Gunn's going to flop. I think, if anything, it's going to break a record or something down the line.
Like, in the 24 hours, I might be getting the numbers wrong, but James Gunn's trailer absolutely obliterated the viewings for the Man of Steel trailer. It got 250 million views within the first 24 hours.
Wow.
That beat the Fantastic Four trailer by 50 million.
I feel like this is something, though, like I think with James Gunn coming in to take over the DC, it's kind of, okay, DC was in shambles, it was in a mess, and I think by bringing James Gunn in, he's done the right thing by going, right, we need to do a soft reboot. We need to do a complete reboot. It can't carry on because there's no cohesiveness within the
also
story.
Wasn't earning money.
Yeah.
It wasn't earning money. Like, they put Henry Cavill in Black Adam and then told everyone a week before because they thought it would be a draw for everyone to come back to the movie screens. And it flopped. It didn't work.
Yeah.
No one was interested. So it obviously wasn't a money draw either. So they had to do something. And then there's another thing I don't think many people know. So, Matt Reeves has done his own Batman series, which was its own thing alongside when the Snyder stuff was still coming out. That's what James Gunn was doing. He was doing his own Superman movie. There was a standalone movie. So he'd actually already started. So when everyone says, oh, James kicked out Henry Cavill, no. James had already started working on a solo Superman movie before Cavill had even been ditched.
Yeah, because wasn't they going to be continuing on with the DC universe as it was and having two kind of coherently running at the same time, sort of thing, weren't they?
So, Lou, you were going to have another. So James Gunn's, like, now the way they're classing it is Matt Reeves' Batman is Elseworld stories, which is the same as the comics, like they do an Elseworld story. James Gunn's Superman was going to be an Elseworld story. It was going, so you were still at that point going to have Henry Cavill as the mainline Superman. James Gunn's was going to be a different film, completely standalone, nothing connected to anything. Everything then obviously went down and everything bombed. So they turned to James, and he'd obviously had Suicide Squad did well, which was connected. And they said, do you want to obviously carry this on and try and rectify everything and in terms reboot? And obviously that agreed, but then all of Henry's fans then started shouting that he'd sacked him, which was never even the case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. As much as I like you said, there's elements of Man of Steel that I really do like, but I do feel like that Man of Steel side of things was very heavily more towards Superman than ever Clark Kent. It was always, we saw more Superman. We never really got an idea of who Clark Kent was within the Man of Steel. It was always him in a suit. And I don't think that's anything to do with Cavill, because at the end of the day, Cavill's the actor.
I've said that before. Yeah. He wasn't given the writing to do it.
Exactly. So it's like we see the actors as the main point because we see them on screen, but they're not the people that fully make that decision from it all. But I'm actually really looking forward to a different style for Superman, and hopefully being able to get a more MCU experience. I want to. So I'm only saying the MCU from a point of view, the fact that they have a formula at the start that works.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to see that for DC. And I feel like James Gunn can be a good point because he was involved in the early days of the MCU.
Yeah.
So I feel like he has...
One of the things for me that I've always liked about the DC stuff is when they get it right, they get it right. I'm very visual with the things that I watch. And when DC get it right, the visual elements are always stunning. The way it's shot, the way it's lit, the way it's filmed. But Marvel, when they get it right, just tend to have a more polished look and a more polished feel. And if they could bring sort of those elements into the DC world with this Superman, then I feel like they could have a perfect mix. So, hopefully that's going to do it.
Yeah. It feels to me like this is going very, very much a comic book movie. Like, obviously, they tried the real world thing with the Man of Steel and stuff. And again, they've released pictures of Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. And I've seen, again, Snyder fans and Cavill fans and that screaming, putting a picture of the Jon Stewart that Snyder was going to use against Guy Gardner and missing the point completely that this guy is meant to look like a dick. The whole point of the character is he is a dick. You can't compare the two because Jon Stewart's a phenomenal character. He's meant to look amazing, everything. Guy Gardner is an arse. And he has always been an arse. And they're comparing chalk and cheese. That you can't compare the two characters. They're totally different.
Yeah,
and he's gone very comic accurate with everything at the minute. Touching on the suit, because I know the suit's been another big polarizing thing. I love the suit. I really do. And again, with the Man of Steel suit, I do think it's good. I think it's too dark, in my opinion. It was too saturated. But again, it was a no-win situation for him. I feel as though if Gunn had done the suit very much like the Man of Steel suit, it'd have been called copying. He's done it totally, totally different, and they don't like it. He couldn't win. Like, literally could not win on that suit with that fandom. And
no, I agree.
I don't get it.
I think the Cavill suit worked for the time that came out and that style of how they were doing Man of Steel. I think that suit, like I said, I have no issues with that suit. I think it works for a Snyder style of shot. Let's just face it, Zack Snyder has a specific style of how he shoots. And that
can't write a story to save his life, but yeah, he has a style of shooting.
He has a style. It's like J.J. Abrams loves the lens flare.
Yeah.
It's like Zack Snyder has a way of shooting. You can see it in all his films that he does. There's no different no matter which one you're in. So I feel like the Superman suit, it works for the story that he told.
Yeah.
The story that James Gunn's telling, it feels more... Superman's always been that sort of upbeat right for me. And I feel like the suit that they've got for this new one, it hits right. I was a bit skeptical at first when I saw it, and I was like, okay, I'm unsure. But then now seeing it in trailers and seeing it more, I'm like, no, it's what we did. It works. It works for the style that James Gunn's bringing here.
The big thing, one of the big things to take away, and I forgot to say this on ours, like, one of the big things Cavill says in his film, which I think they missed, was he says that the S means hope. Great point. There is no hope in that movie or any of the movies ever since then. In Batman v Superman, the world hates him. Where is the hope? I got more hope from the 2-minute teaser trailer that James Gunn released in that than we did in that. And again, it does sound like I'm saying that the Snyder ones weren't great. I think some of the elements in the Snyder one, I love the flight scene when he first takes off. I think that's stunning. I think it's really good. I think some of the fight scenes are great. The one in Smallville, although they destroyed Smallville, which is another point, is great. There are elements of them, and these elements in like Superman Returns go back to there. I don't think it's a good movie. There's elements in it I think are fantastic. But it seems like people aren't even giving the guy a chance to release his movie before they're judging it. Let him actually put it out and then judge it. I mean, some are just going to judge it because of what it is, aren't they? They're just going to say they don't like it because of what it is.
Well, there's
That's inevitably
there's that
everything.
whole sort of toxic community behind Schneider stuff, and I think that's got involved here because obviously, it's now Gunn and all the rest of it, and we've seen it time and time again with the toxicity behind the Schneider stuff when people have been pushing for Schneider cuts and all the rest of it, and it's the horrible side of fan base, unfortunately. I personally, like I say, didn't watch the Schneider Superman movies. I like some of Schneider's stuff, not a fan of other stuff. Again, from a visual element, I like some of his stuff, the way he films it. He's got a set way of filming it, but the storylines in most of his movies are shallow at best, leave a lot to be desired, whereas Gunn's stuff is the complete opposite. It's, the story's normally much, much better. It's got a lot more continuity to it and consistency. So I personally am looking forward to it.
When you look what he's done with when he did with Guardians, he got you feeling for the characters.
Yeah.
The story arc that he told in the 3 Guardians of the Galaxy, love or hate them.
Yeah.
He told a coherent, full narrative story of a family together. So I feel like we're going to get something from him that's going to get people upset, but also not upset in a negative way, but upset to the point where you feel really emotional towards something that's happening in the story. And I think I want to use what you said there, Troy, it was about pushing for Superman to find that hope again. I feel like we're going to get that point where he's going to be so beaten down. And I think we see a little bit of that in the trailer, I feel like we see a little bit of that in the trailer with like Cosmo and stuff. And I feel like he's going to hit a point where he goes, I can't do this. Why, and all this sort of stuff. And then that's when James Gunn's magic will come into it, where uplifting hope into it all to make everyone feel good will come out. And I think that's something James Gunn's very good at doing. He's very good at telling a story that can get the emotions going.
I mean, I've got, obviously, this time around, I've got the personal thing with James Gunn. Obviously, I've said on numerous times that the guy has, with Peacemaker and all these elements and stuff I wouldn't be cosplaying without James Gunn. So there's that element of like, the guy has changed my life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I have read this character for years. It took me years to cosplay this character because it was one of the characters I wanted to do for years, but never felt I was in the right place yet. And I know it sounds silly with a costume just going to Comic-Con, but I wanted to do the character justice if I could.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because it meant so much to me. And I watched this trailer and all I saw was everything I saw as a kid in that trailer. Like when I was sat reading the comics or something like that, I saw what I wanted and what I saw as Superman. The reason for the colours is because it attracts attention and it comforts someone. It feels like it's someone you want to go towards that will help you. And I mean, I can't say any more about this film that I'm so excited to see it. And I feel as though we're getting the Christopher Reeve style back. I mean, it's had the approval from Christopher Reeve's family and everything. One of them is in it. One of the members is in the film. So,
and that was something that I think I was going to say was the fact when I watched the trailer, I felt like I did when I saw the Christopher Reeves films all them years ago. It had that vibe, especially when was it? Is it Nicholas
Hoult is Lex Luthor?
Yeah. When I saw him as Lex Luthor, I then definitely got that same feeling from it there, and I feel like I'm excited for this film as a fan of Superman. So I grew up on the DC side of things. More so than Marvel and whatnot. Superman and Batman were my favorites growing up. And you ask most people will automatically say Superman, Batman, or Spider-Man. But it's the thing is, I'm excited to see a different take on this and seeing how it comes about.
Yeah. I feel as though he understands the character a lot as well. And I think it's very showing that he and Peter Safran set up DC Studios, and the first thing they ever released with the DC Studios banner on of anything was the Christopher Reeve documentary. It's the first thing that has that thing of Superman breaking through the chains. You see DC Studios. I think that says a lot about him knowing the character, that the character goes beyond the screen and it means a lot to people, and he's got to get it right. You touched on the you want the MCU side of this, and I know I get what you're meaning. But listening to his rundown, he is so interactive with the fans online. He will answer questions, and he will even shut down stuff. Like, people have put stuff up and said, James, this article's just come out. Is this true? And he'll literally type like, no, bullshit.
I think that takes a lot. That takes a lot, but that's also a very respectful thing. The fact that he's willing to sit there and go, "Oh, that's bullshit."
No, that's not true.
I've got a lot of. I like that about him.
But then, looking at the slate, like, he's taking some risks as well that are coming. I mean, obviously, I think the biggest standout in this film might end up being Crypto. The guy knows how to write animals and do them well. We've had that evidence before. But we've got stuff coming from him, like, he's picked Swamp Thing as one of the first DCU movies, and it is going to be a horror. He has said this will be a horror movie. The first actual thing in the DCU, obviously Christopher Reeve's thing was the separate, it's a documentary it's contained. The first thing he's released of his universe is Creature Commandos. Another band of people no one has ever seen before, and it was actually pretty good. It was good. It was a nice setup to a new universe, and you could see that he's going to go in deep with this.
Yeah.
And he knows his stuff. I think it's in good hands, personally. I really do think it's in good hands.
I would agree, because I think as soon as that announcement came out that James Gunn was taking over at DC, I felt, actually, this is a good decision. Like, he's going to come up with some stuff that's really gonna really hit home for people, but also make it a point where he'll treat it right. I feel is what my gut instinct was kind of saying to me for it.
Yeah. Can't say anymore. I'm so excited.
It's going to be good. I'm probably sure, because it is going to be a film of the year type thing from a superhero point. I'd love to again do another catch up when that comes out and get your thoughts on it all for that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think what that will now kind of do is, I think we are missing one extra film in here that I think we probably should touch on, and that's the first family, Fantastic Four. And I think we'll start with Darren on this one, because
I actually know.
Me and Troy talked quite a lot about.
I could talk for ages.
About this.
I mean, I actually know very little about this. I've not really looked much into what it's going to be. I enjoyed first sort of iteration of Fantastic Four movies. I thought they were a good starting base. I don't know much about this one at all. Not really looked. I've seen a lot of people posting online, a lot of stuff posted online. Whilst I am really looking forward to it, what I am worried about is the immense amount of hype for it. And I'm just hoping it's not going to be overhyped. And it's one of the reasons I'm not looking too much into what it's about, because I'm actually just looking forward to just going to see it. And just enjoying it for what it is, without reading all the hype and stuff that's around it. What about you guys?
I'll try and stay away from the fact that you've just said that. Then I'll not go into too much of what I already know, because I don't want to spoil it for you. So, no, I think one of the reasons you'll like it, Darren, is you like Fallout. You love Fallout.
Yeah.
this has got that retro futuristic feel.
Oh, okay.
The one thing I will say is this is not set on the main MCU universe. It is a separate universe. It's a different place. So everything is retro futuristic and that. I like the originals. I've got nostalgia for them. I used to watch the cartoon a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
I feel as though this is very much going back to the golden age of comics. It feels like they are touching on this is Marvel's first family. They are not exactly just superheroes. They're adventurers, scientists, and I think that first trailer really showed that this is meant to be a cohesive unit of a family, not just a team.
Yeah.
That they all just like they have family dinners and stuff like that together. And as I say, there is more I know about this film because I don't like spoilers as such, but I like to read into things that could potentially go into a film and like stuff like that. I don't want anything like cameos or stories or anything spoiled for me.
Yeah.
But I'm optimistic. I really like the Fantastic Four. I have done again. It's another one that I've read as a comic from being a kid. Still skeptical on some of the casting. Still not sure. Pedro's someone I probably wouldn't have even thought of as Mr. Fantastic, but he's a good actor. I will openly see what he brings to the table because
I was going
to
say similar. I was surprised to see him cast in that role, but at the same time, I really like him. So I'm interested to see what he brings to it.
Ebon Moss-Bachrach, who is playing Ben, the Thing, fantastic actor. If anyone's not watched The Bear, watch
Brilliant
The
series.
Bear on Disney. Fantastic. He's a great actor. Vanessa Kirby has been fan cast for years as Sue Storm. I think she'll be fantastic.
Yep.
The biggest one for me is Joseph Quinn. I just, at the minute, even after the trailer, still not sure if I see him as Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure yet. I'm going to say this on everything. So open to be proven wrong and want to be proven wrong. I really want to be proven wrong. And I'll wholeheartedly hold my hands up and say, no, totally wrong. Best part of the film, if he is, or something like that. Just don't see it just yet. But I am incredibly excited to see this. It looks very different to other Marvel stuff. So, yeah, can't wait.
I think that's the thing for me as well, is like what you're saying there. It looks different. It definitely does feel a bit more in keeping with cartoons, with that whole sort of retro vibes, but being very futuristic sort of things. It kind of almost gives me a Back to the Future style-esque vibe from what I've seen from a visual point. I'm just trying to just talk about it without saying too much as well, because I've seen the trailer, but I think what the trailer does really well is it doesn't actually tell you what a story is. It's very much pinpointing, like you said, Troy, with the whole family element. It's focused on them as a family. It's not focused on a story. It's still very much like we don't really know what the situation is that's happening. There's no story plot or anything like that. And I think that's really fresh. I think that's really nice to just see it in that sense, the way of, I actually have no idea what's going to happen here. And I actually like that. And I'm hoping they keep it that way so that it goes, actually, I feel like I need to go see it because I want to know what happened, like what's going to happen. I don't like it when they go too much into story in a trailer. So I'm looking forward to it because I think like you were saying, it feels different from an MCU point. It definitely does feel like a turning point from a Fantastic Four point of the way that they're doing things.
Great.
I think I share the same sort of concerns on casting, but I'm hoping to be proven wrong. I do like Pedro as an actor. I wouldn't have put him as my Mr. Fantastic when they announced it, but I'm hoping can be in that range that he does. Him as a person, I really like what I've read about. So I think from him as a person point of view, I think he could play this role really well, and I'm hoping he does. I am skeptical a bit, but I think I'm skeptical about most Marvel projects over the last couple of years.
Yeah, same as everyone.
I feel like it goes back to that whole thing, as like we were saying earlier, like reshoot. And when we had that reshoot word, it's not a bad word. Like it shouldn't be connotated as a bad word, because we look at it from a gaming perspective. If a game development company comes out and goes, right, we need longer to perfect the game, I'd rather sit and wait for the game to be perfected.
Absolutely.
And
Definitely.
if it means they have to then put the film on hold for like a year or so, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying if they had to put a film on hold because they need time to develop it to make it better, I would rather sit and wait, like they're doing with the next Across the Spider-Verse film.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it. I am worried about it to a point, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I think I'm about on that level, to be honest. I mean, let's move over to a little bit of a short chat about games. I mean, I'm into my games, but I'm very big into my games, but I am quite narrow in the scope of games that I enjoy, and that I not necessarily games that I enjoy, but games that I play purely because I don't have a huge amount of time to get into gaming. I mean, obviously, Cyberpunk is my all-time, most hated game ever. Not. No, I absolutely love Cyberpunk. And there's a new game coming out this year that I'm really, really excited for. It's kind of got a Cyberpunk feel to it, and that's a game called Spine. It's by developers Neki and Banzai. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. It's a single player action game, essentially set in a kind of cyberpunk world with a female main character, proper badass character.
What's it called again? Sorry,
Spine.
Spine.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah,
I put a bit of it in socials recently just to showcase it.
It's kind of skating under the radar, and I came about it through a mutual friend, purely because the guy that was behind a lot of the music for this is the guy that's been doing a lot of, or a guy that did a lot of the music for the John Wick movies, and sort of like Terry, Project Cosplay UK have been speaking to this guy, and then he made this this game known to us. And yeah, it looks like a really cool game. Really excited to play it. Going to be doing some cosplay shoots based around the game as well. There's a few of us already working on plans. A couple of cosplay friends are already working on cosplays in conjunction with some networking with the game developers as well, which could be quite an exciting one. But yeah, I think that's my main one for this year. And then obviously we've got,
I think the best way to explain that one is Cyberpunk meets John Wick.
Yeah,
is the best way of explaining it.
With a female lead.
So ballerina.
Yeah. So yeah. Ballerina in Cyberpunk is, I think, the best way. I know we sort of touched on this briefly before, but obviously GTA 6, which we still don't have a date for, and I don't think it's going to come out this year. I think we're very surprised if it does. But yeah, I know you said, Troy, that you've never seen the hype behind it. I'm a bit different with GTA 6, the GTA games, in that I generally don't play them for the online multiplayer, which is where they seem to get most of the hype. People love it, spend hours, days, weeks, and ridiculous amount of money on. I just enjoy playing the story modes in the games, and it just, get a bit lost in sort of roaming around the streets and interacting with characters, much in the same way as I enjoy playing Cyberpunk. I can lose hours on that game just roaming around, looking around the city and things like that. And I think GTA for me is of a similar vein. So whilst I am excited for GTA 6 in some senses, this time round for me, it's not one that I'm going to be like overly hyped about unless I see something amazing from the release. there's other things coming out that I'll put more time into, like Spine, new Gears of War coming out.
That's the one for me.
That's what I think me and Troy were about to say.
We're literally waiting for that. That is the one for me. I'm like you, Darren. I'm very picky now on what I play because I don't have as much time. I'm usually building cosplay or something. So I have to pick very carefully what I want to invest my time into. It's usually something with a good story or something I'm very close to. And for me, Gears is both of those. I've got the nostalgia from playing the first game, and I think the story is really good. Now, if you just look at the characters from an outside perspective, you don't know anything, you just think, oh, just big dudes, guns. There is so much more to those games than that. It's like a brotherhood sort of game. It's like a band of brothers game in a sci-fi universe. I love them, and I think
very cinematic style of games as well. It's like you go from a start point and it tells a good story and it hooks you into that story, and let's just say there's certain characters that die within the franchise that you kind of
care about,
choked up about when shit happens to it.
Yes, totally.
It immerses you in the world, in the action, in the story, and that's, for me, that's what I want from a game. I don't just want it to be a mindless. Occasionally, I like just a mindless game just to play and pass a bit of time. But if I'm going to get into a game, it's got to have something that's going to immerse me and pull me in and completely distract me from everything else that's going on in my life and the world.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only game that will do that for me this year, knowing everything. It's the only game that will take me away from building a cosplay or something to play hours and hours of it to finish it.
I feel like if the rumors are correct and Gears are coming to PlayStation, I feel like I will probably get lost in nostalgia. I will play, because I reckon if it comes to PlayStation, they'll do a remake. Not a remake,
there's
remaster.
Already been announced. That's the rumor, the Marcus Phoenix collection.
So I would happily buy the Marcus Phoenix collection, play it on PlayStation, and I will most likely have a nostalgia kick of replaying them games and then playing the new one. I can't wait.
At the moment, ED has only announced for Xbox and PC.
Yeah, PC.
I think it's going to come to PlayStation.
It will. I reckon it will. The way that Microsoft's going with things.
I think they'll do what PlayStation have done. I think they'll release it on Xbox and Windows first, and then I think once people have had their fill, it'll come to PlayStation. Maybe 6 months or a year down the line. That tends to be the theme these days. Which would be good for me because I'm an Xbox person, and PC. But it'd be good. It'll definitely be a good one.
Definitely going to be a good one.
What else we got game wise? I'm not massively up on what games.
There's not really many. I mean, there's Borderlands that got announced the day, but I'm not a Borderlands fan.
No, there hasn't been much gaming wise that's been announced that's really going to grab me this year. I know, obviously, the new Witcher game's being worked on, the new Cyberpunk game's being worked on, both
new Mass Effect game.
Red. Yeah.
Oh, I'm worried about that. No.
Yeah.
I'm worried because I love the original franchise, Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that they do justice to the new one.
Yeah, BioWare have been going downhill lately.
To be fair, though, and this could be a controversial one, the latest Dragon Age Veilguard. I enjoyed the story of it. I enjoyed playing through it. I got lost in it. It wasn't the best, but I had fun playing it, and that was all that really mattered, really, at that point.
Yeah.
Controversial, but
I didn't. It was terrible.
I just love the fact that I had a rogue character with 2 swords and just obliterated everything. I was fine.
I literally bought it and wish I hadn't.
I bought it in sales, so it's fine. But anyway, I think we've got one more thing to really talk about in this episode before we wrap up. We'll try and keep it relatively quick. Captain America, Brave New World. I know we've mentioned it a few times here. I think it's probably the right time for maybe a little bit more of a review of film from maybe mine and Troy's perspective. I will try and go spoiler-free as much as possible and not give away anything.
I've just not had time to watch it yet, and I'm not going to have time to see it at the cinema, unfortunately. So, which is unfortunate, but.
So I think I'll let you kickstart, Troy, and let's I think we'll get into it and see what our thoughts were.
Yeah, so I enjoyed the movie. But off the dot, I enjoyed it. I wasn't bored ever. I really enjoyed it. I didn't go in with massive expectations, not because I didn't like Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson or anything. I just heard rumblings that it wasn't good. Saw the reviews and people were coming out giving it really, really bad stonking reviews and everything, like really terrible. And I listened to their points, and when I went in, I was looking for some of their points to see if I could find what they were on about. And I don't think they watched the same film because I couldn't find them at all. I literally couldn't find some of the points they were going on about. It was literally like, what are you talking about? Where is it? And sometimes I think the way the MCU's gone, obviously we have had some stonkers. We have had some bad ones. And it seems like it's now the done thing to just start like slating them straight away a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't think this one deserved it. I think it was it's a mid-Marvel movie. I'd say it's a 7. Like, it's not fantastic. It's not the best thing in the world, but
I would agree with you. I think I went in there with I read the reviews as well, and I was like, really? Like, companies were giving like 4s and 5s and stuff like that, and like really slating it, and I was just like,
no way,
really? Okay, so I went in very open-minded to it because obviously with past Marvel projects there has been a bit of staleness to it, or not being as great as what we were hoping for. Yeah. But I'm a Cap fan. I love Captain America. I love Chris Evans as that role. But I also, and this is controversial for some people, I actually enjoyed Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV series.
I did.
To a point. I enjoyed it, and it was a good way of passing that shield on to Anthony Mackie's character. But I was like you, Troy. I went into it as I was trying to look for these things that the critics were saying for the film, and I was like, I don't see it. I'm sat in the cinema, and from the moment it started to the moment it ended, I was entertained. I enjoyed it. I agree. It's not peak Marvel, but it's also not. It's
fast paced.
Terrible. It keeps going. It keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
It did have Winter Soldier vibes to a point with it for me, but I gauge a lot of Marvel stuff by Winter Soldier because Winter Soldier for me is one of my most ultimate favorite films in the MCU.
I would
I
say
see what
like
they're kind of doing with this as well.
Yeah, I would genuinely say like not like I needed to go to the toilet at one point. I desperately needed to go. But as I sat there and thought about it, because of the pace of this film, there was, in my opinion, not one scene that you could miss for the story. I thought every single scene added to the story. There wasn't one just down bit where it was just like, yeah, if someone asked me like, oh, where can I go? When can I go? You're like, I don't think you can. Like every single scene pushes the plot forward.
Yeah, I would agree. It comes to a point where actually there's nothing really in it, in my opinion, that kind of go, oh, they could have done without that. Now, I was sat there and there was a certain, Troy won't know what scene I'm on about because we've discussed already, but there was a certain scene that I was like, when a certain thing happens, I was like, oh, please, God, let this happen, because I feel like that would be epic if that does, because it ties in chemistry really well. And I was so happy to see, it's like it was almost like they're listening to what you're going, oh, it's like it naturally brings you to a point where you're going, that thing needs to happen, please allow it to happen. And when it happens, I was just there like, oh, thank God. You've done what most people would think of at this point in this, and it made sense to bring that thing into it. And for me, that really upped it for me from a point of being like, from a rating from like a 6.5 to like a 7.8. It's only a small segment, but for me, it made it. it hit. It allowed you to have that feeling for something. And I think Anthony Mackie playing this role as Cap is a very different Cap to Chris Evans. Obviously, Chris Evans' Cap is one way, and Anthony Mackie being the Falcon, but also looking up to Steve in a way, he brings in his devotion to Steve and tries to keep Steve's legacy the way it should be remembered, but also bringing in his own style to the character, or to his own style to being Captain America. And I think Anthony Mackie does a fantastic job of portraying this character. And then how do you have that element between being the fact that Steve's a super soldier and Anthony Mackie's character is not. He's a human. He's like everybody else. He has no special abilities. He is just a human. How can he live up to that portion? And you could see that doubt in him throughout the film.
Yeah.
And so on. And he just plays it really well, in my opinion.
That's made me want to watch it even more now.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts on that are, Troy, if I'm hitting it on the nail or...
I agree. Yeah. There's one thing I would say about the portrayal of the new Captain America, but I don't want to go into spoilers, so I think it will wait. It's the only thing I would have changed. I don't know whether to say it or not. It's not spoilery, but it's...
Just say it.
No,
I'll
I
mark
would say,
it.
yeah, okay.
Okay,
So
I'll put a marker in and then skip ahead.
Yeah, you can decide.
30 seconds.
The only thing I would have changed is when he is using the tech, he's a fantastic fighter. Fantastic. Takes down 10 men at a time. When he's not using the tech, he isn't very formidable. And I think he's not as strong, obviously, as Steve Rogers and everything. The only thing I would have done is I would have made it that he is a better martial artist and uses that to his advantage to take someone down fairly easy. There is a scene in the film where he is fighting someone and it's a little too even for my liking. Like, the other guy is not really that formidable, but he's still able to hold his own. And I think he should have been able to just take him down and shown... Because that was one of the things I got from Falcon Winter Soldier, from how people said he was fighting at the end, like against Bashrock and that, how easy Steve took him down compared to how hard it was for Sam Wilson to take him down. I'd like to have seen in that 2-year gap between Falcon Winter Soldier and this, that he has put the time in and he is a little bit better at that aspect, and that wouldn't have done. But other than that, that's my only thing. I think my favourite scene, which is not a spoiler because you saw it in the trailer, I think the dog fights are fantastic.
Oh, yeah. It's very Top Gun-esque.
Scene. Oh, yeah.
Very Top Gun-esque.
Was totally invested in that. And we know it from the trailer as well, so I'm not going to spoiler. The Red Hulk is terrifying.
Yes.
That is the Hulk I want. I want the Rage Monster back, and they nailed it. That guy is just absolute
rage,
pure strength, pure rage, and that was perfect.
I think my gripe with the Red Hulk, and it's not against the Red Hulk, it's probably the way. It's not even really gripe. I think it's just a criticism. It's like, okay, we've seen the Hulk in the MCU for so long, and this is more the actions of individuals when the Red Hulk emerges, they think it's a good idea to shoot him.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, the Hulk's been around for a long time, and how many times have we seen the Hulk just take blow after blow after blow from guns and tanks?
Yeah.
You think a pistol's going to really stop him? And it's just like, yeah, I would have just like, you've got more chance of chucking the gun at him and it hurting more than shooting him.
I mean, this Red Hulk is very different to the comics, by the way.
Okay.
So in the comics, obviously, this isn't a spoiler for Darren. You've seen, obviously, that this version is just pure rage and attacking him and everything. In the comics, if I remember rightly, Thaddeus Ross is still in control. So he can talk, everything. He is still in control. So the difference is, obviously, he loses control in this. In the comics, that's not the case, which they may go that way later on, that he is able to gain control under. But it was nice to see a Raging Hulk back, because we've missed that, in my opinion. Like, I have missed a Raging Hulk.
I think another element of this was Harrison Ford. The way that he portrayed Thaddeus Ross was really, really well done. And I love the conflict that he had, where we could see that turning point between him being human to turning into the Red Hulk. And I think for me, that performance that he does there, of not knowing what the hell is happening to him as he's starting to change and shift, that mental, the mentality behind it all and what was going on mentally for him really came across. And it really kind of did remind me very much of the early days of watching like the Hulk or the Incredible Hulk, where Banner had no idea what the hell was kind of happening, and he was bringing that whole emotion out, and it really played on the story for it as well. And I think they did a really good job with how they've portrayed that rage.
Yeah,
that's good.
I'd say just to wrap it up on this, I'd say to someone, it is not the best Marvel movie ever, because some of them are very high. It is certainly not as low as the reviewers have been reviewing it. I think they have been incredibly harsh. Like on Rotten Tomatoes, it's lower than Thor: The Dark World.
Oh,
yeah. This is not lower than Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, I think they've gotten Rotten Tomatoes around about Eternals level as well, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, like
no,
the audience scores for this is really high. It's like 80-odd%. Don't go in with massively high expectations. Go in a bit like we did, maybe a bit lower. And I think you will enjoy this film. I think it's a good Marvel movie, and one of the better ones we've had since Endgame.
I think if you sit there and you go through it and you just sit there for an entertainment value and expect very little, then you will have a wonderful time.
And that's kind of where I would be going with this, to be fair. I might actually see if I can try and get a chance to see it at the cinema next weekend.
I would highly recommend going to see it in the cinema. I definitely feel like it's a cinema-worthy film. If you can get to the cinema to go see it, see it.
Yeah,
it's definitely for like the top
I might
elements.
get a chance to see it next weekend, the weekend before Magna. Maybe Friday evening or something. It sounds. I think I'd definitely go in with sort of expectations of just wanting to be entertained rather than anything else. And from what I've heard and seen, especially from you guys, it sounds like something I would enjoy.
I think it would. But I think with that said, I think that brings us nicely to a close for this episode, because I know Darren's got to shoot off. I've got to shoot off as well. And I think Troy's got to shoot off as well, because he's got another podcast to record.
Busy man.
Busy man. So with that said, I want to say thank you very much to Troy, Captain Tempest, for joining us on Let's Get a Little Nerdy. It's a very different episode for us. And then, as always, I've been Switch. My co-host has been iPhotoUK. We are Cosplay, Tugs, and All Things Nerdy. And as per standard, all our social media links are going to be in the descriptions down below. But it's easy enough to find us all. Just Cosplay Tugs, and you'll be able to find us on pretty much any platform. And if you want to get a bit more nerdy, then go over and listen to Pop Cultured with Dex and Troy, where they talk about all things nerdy. Definitely. It's a good listen, so I'd recommend going to give them a shout. So any final words, guys, before we cut out?
No,
thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Again, thanks, Troy. It's been a really fun episode. We'll definitely be doing more episodes of this vein. Probably throughout the year, maybe focus some on individual games, movies, TV shows, and then some other episodes where we just focus on games or just focus on movies, I think, throughout the year. But yeah, it's been fun. How about you, Troy?
I think we're going to try and get Troy and Dex on for when Daredevil Born Again's out. Do listen to them, though, because they will be doing it weekly when they are released. But I would like to at least get them on board for an episode where we talk about it after the premiere. So that might be the next geeky one for us. And I'm going to leave Troy for the final notes here.
Oh, God. Hold on, right. Am I signing us off? Am I?
Yeah, we'll go with it. You're going to be a regular at this point, so you might as well sign us off.
So, follow me at Captain Tempest, please. Yeah, go and check out Pop Cultured. We do weekly episodes, and I'm usually very active on the social media and stuff. And Yeah, I think one of the way to sign this off is I've been signing off with a little bit of a slogan from a movie or something that's connected, and we've touched on one, so let's just cut it with something I'm really excited for, and I think everyone should just get ready to look.
With that said, thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.